Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. I think this might be my first video of the new year, I believe. So we're going to get started January 6th, and we've got a lot to work on all year for all of the beginners and all of the advancing guitar players. Today, we're going to just give you some ideas of how to play the E7th chord in different positions. One of the things for me as a new guitar player, when I learned E7 in the open position, and then I learned it in the bar chord position all the way on the 12th fret, okay? Or I learned it in this position, okay, the other bar chord position off of the A bar. That was kind of all I knew. Of course, if you realize that when we play C7th down here, open position, and we move it up to the 5th fret, we have the E7th there. But it seemed like whenever I was playing 1, 4, 5, I would play the open position, and I would play this position over and over and over and over again. And you're using the whole 6 strings for that. And when you play with a bass player or guitar, another guitar, piano, not all 3 of the rhythm sections need to be playing full chords. You know, a lot of times you can play 3 notes or 4 notes and still get that dominant 7th sound. So I'm just going to show you some other options that you can utilize for E7 up the neck, and then you can transpose that into the other keys. Now, we've talked about it before, that the chord consists of what is a major 3 notes. And we told you by going off of the E bar and just doing the top 3 notes, you can get the notes that make up the chord, the 1, the 3, and the 5. Or from the A position, when you come up to E here and you're just doing the top 3 notes, you're seeing that you've got an E, you got a G sharp, and you got a B. Same thing if you're up here, G sharp, B, E. Same thing if you're down here, G sharp and open B, E. If you want to get that dominant 7th sound, well, you've got to flat the 7th note. And then again, for review, we'll do the scale, E scale, and that's your 7, D sharp, so you have to have that flatted, okay? And when you do the position where you know the 7th chord and you're adding this D, you can see that you're adding it there. And when you're playing the E7th up top, that's your major, but then you're adding the D on the 14th fret, B, okay? So you're needing 4 notes to get the dominant 7th sound, but you actually can play E7th without utilizing all the notes, and you can still get the 7th sound as long as you're adding that 7th, that flatted 7 note with the 3rd or the root or the 5th, okay? You could even play a 7th sound with 2 notes from the chord. So we're going to start down here at the bottom. This is the one everybody knows. You got it, your E open chord, and you're lifting up on the D string, the E note, okay, and it becomes a D. And then you can add another D here on the B string 3rd fret. So you've got 2 Ds, but even when you're playing the E chord, look at this. You got an open E, you got an E here, and you got an E here. So you're playing 3 E's when you do an open E chord, okay? So same thing a lot of times when you're doing open, the open chords, you are redundant with some of the notes are repeating, okay? And that's okay, doesn't have to be done. That's why I tell you a lot of times the 3 notes make up the chord, or 4 notes making up whether it's a dominant 7 or a major 7 or some of the other variations of the chords when you alter them. So here we go. You've got E7 there. Now, like we talked about moving open chords up the neck, certain ones will work. Like, you know, your E, you can do bar all the way up the whole fretboard. The A, you can bar that all the way up. Well, with the D7 or D minor, you can move that up the neck too. And then with those 3 or 4 notes, you have that chord, and you're not going to be playing all the strings, okay? So the D7th, you're using an open D, and here's your D. If you move it up a whole step, you're at D7. Okay, now if you want to get the root in there, then the root is here, like you're doing, the root is D here. When you move it up a whole step, you need to play 2nd fret D string, and then you've got, that's the first new position that I want to show you for E7. So you've got E7 here, and you've got E7 here, because you got the E, you got the B, you got the D, and you got the G sharp. Okay? So you don't have to go all the way up here when you're playing 1-4-5 or whatever E7th song in the song you're playing. You can grab it here. You don't want to play the E and the A string. You're just playing the top 4 strings. A lot of times, again, when you're doing partial chords, you may have to muffle some notes, because a lot of times you're not used to playing portions of the 6 strings. It gets tough to do, and you have to muffle notes. So you can actually sometimes, you can put your thumb and just hold it lightly, you know, on those two E and A strings. And I'm still strumming all 6 notes, but you're not hearing the E and the A, the bass notes, okay, the bottom notes, because I'm muffling them. If you're good enough where you can just key in on D, B, D, G, B, and E strings, then you're good to go. You're not going to hit these notes, okay? If you move up to your 5th fret, most people know this position of the E7th. And again, if you've learned C7th down in the open position, you move it up to the 5th fret, right there, okay? You've got that E7th, which many of you probably already know, okay? So talking about moving up again, now we're going to do an E7th at the 7th fret off of what is your bar A, but you're barring up here your E. Okay? So to get the 7th sound, what am I doing? I'm not playing this duplicate E, because again, E, E, E. If you do this whole bar chord here, you're playing the E note 3 times. You don't need that, okay? But if you're going to take the 1 E, and now it's going to be, you're going to hear this D note, which is the 7th note, you can play in this position if you want. You can play all of the 2 E's at the top, and then the rest of the chord. So the only thing I did different, instead of playing all the notes here on your 9th fret, we're dropping the D, the E to the D, okay? So this finger comes up, you have the chord, you got the B, you got the D, you got the G sharp, and you got another B, okay? And like I said, you can add that E in there, or you could just play the top 4 strings and not have the root in there, because your bass player may be playing the root, so you may not need it. So there you've got a different position for E7th, okay? And if you want to, like I said, play all the strings, you can actually go all the way and play that E there, and then your open E here. I'm using all 6 notes here and all 6 strings, but this way, again, B, D, G sharp, B again, okay? Again, I've left out the E, but you're still getting a E7th sound without the E root. The other way that very early on where I learned to play 7th is off of this bar chord. You got a D right there. So you can play the whole E major chord and then add that D here. Okay? Again. You got 3 E's in there. You don't actually need it, but if you're playing by yourself, then you want full chords, okay? If you want to, you can just do, if you've got other people you're playing with, you may just want to do, see that? The E7th here, without playing the bottom 2 strings, the E and the A. So I'm doing here, I've got your B, there's actually your E, okay? You've got your G sharp, and there's your D. So we've got E7 open, we've got E7 starting on the 2nd fret, we've got E7 on the 5th fret, we've got 2 positions here, up the neck on the 7th fret, okay, and then we'll go all the way up back to the 12th. You've got, again, 6-string bar chord, but you can play, again, with just the top 4 strings. I'm using a part of the bar chord of the 12th fret of E7, but I'm just, again, ignoring the E and the A bass notes, and I'm playing D here, G sharp, B, and there's your E. So here you go. Now you've got, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 ways now that you can play E7th. When we talked about major chords before, I showed you a diagram that had over 100 different ways to play a major chord. Because when you're talking about major, you can add in a 6, or 11, or a 2nd, or you can add a lot of different notes, and you can move things around. And again, with a major chord, you don't always have to have the root. You can have pieces of that chord, and still it will sound major. Okay, there's probably several other E7th shapes that I could be showing you along the neck. These are just the ones for now. And if you want to find your own, you can do that. Now that you know that you need a E, you need a G sharp, you need a B, and you need a D. So, as long as you've got that D in there and you've got a couple of the other notes that make up the E major, the 1, 3, and the 5, you can do 2 notes or 3 notes, or you can find 4 notes and you can get a 7th sound. And we'll get into that a little more where I'm just utilizing 2 notes and getting a 7th sound. It can be done, and it can really add to your playing because you're playing small pieces that will go along in a band with a rhythm section, or whether you're just jamming with one other friend. Sometimes just doing the full chords, it gets a little boring and redundant. So you need other little parts of chords so you can mix it up and become a better guitarist. See you next time. I hope you like the lesson.